Folks, it is time for change. Change is coming. Change is inevitable. Things change, even in geocaching. In this episode, we're going to look at some recent major changes in geocaching, from privacy concerns to a beloved website dashboard. Old and classic versus new and modern. Geocaching HQ
will make change.
Now change to a change.
What?
No, see, in here, you make change. There, you make a change. So just make the change. Make change to make a change. Oh, just change it!
You're listening to TGIF Geocaching Radio, a podcast with a dose of curated geocaching news and adventure, contests and hot topics, and highlighting a variety of experiences that just may well lie in wait. And I'm Jeff, aka the Bruce Zero, so stay tuned and let's hang out. Cheers will always have a special place in my heart. Do you remember that bit about Woody's change? That was in the series finale, and for some reason, that little bit between Frasier and Woody had me ROTFL. I thought it was appropriate for this episode's theme, because friends, it's 2026, and it's about time for another episode. I've been itching to get another published for y'all, and there's just so much to talk about, but so little time. Life has been very different here at Cacheline HQ. The little man Skycrawler 1 has been testing our ability to manage sleep, and priorities have shockingly put getting out for earning smileys and finding things a little bit lower on the scale. At one point, I started working on a little craft idea for our cats. It was proposed that they should have ID tags to help with those outdoor adventures they have all the time. So playing with the laser cutter, I got a little sidetracked and whipped up a trackable tag for Skycrawler 1 himself. It comes along on some event attendances for people to discover. So if you see him at a future event, you should look for or ask about the tag. It is yours to discover. All right, that's Ontario's provincial slogan. Well, one topic that's pretty hot and taboo right now is the proliferation of AI, artificial intelligence, especially when used for creative purposes, such as for image generation, videos, and writing, and music. And given the use of AI for some visual design in the Cache Hunters cards, I posted a deep dive look into AI, which also serves as a disclaimer for the cards, looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly side of this new tool, and what sorts of ethical limitations there should be, and to what degree it's used in Cache Hunters. I'll link the blog post in the show notes, so if you're interested, you can go check it out. Creating with Artificial Intelligence. Coming up in this episode, we'll be chatting about a lot of change. HQ has been hard at work keeping the mobile and online experience alive and progressing with times, so we'll be looking at a major new feature for the geocaching app, coordinate averaging, plus a new dark mode option for the mobile app, and then an update that's relevant to those of us who love challenge caching due to some shifts in how privacy works online. And the biggie, the user dashboard. All right, so first off, I want to get back to the heart of TGIF, excellent adventures. At least to launch this episode on a fun note, back in the summer last year, I took note of a volcano eruption, and there have been a few lately, especially in Iceland, but this one is a great example of opportunity. Yeah, whenever there's a big natural event or disaster, one of the first things that I do, maybe you do it too, is get that geocaching map open and see if there's a geocache there. I do it for locations that are reported for interesting things too, like the deepest borehole in the world. That's in far north Russia, not far from Norway. Apparently they decided to stop drilling as soon as it got too hot for the bits, and they started to melt, I hear. But before anything really bad could happen. But is there a geocache there? Well, there is actually one about 8.5 kilometers from it, and that's GC898QA, and it was last found in April 2025. But it's not at all related to that borehole. Anyway, last summer, Mount Etna erupted. And Etna is in Italy, so I headed over to the maps, and here is a quick pro tip for you. If you install the GC Little Helper browser add-on, you'll add some icon buttons that can quickly and easily jump between Google Maps and the browse or the search maps on geocaching.com from the very location you may be looking at. So you can use Google Maps to quickly search for non-geocaching places of interest and then switch to the geocaching map at that location right away. It's so convenient. So I got the map at Etna and found that, yes, unsurprisingly, there are geocaches nearby. Not physical, for obvious reasons, but earth caches and a virtual. The virtual GCAJGVB is a virtual reward 4.0 published a year earlier, and it's at the rim of one of the calderas. Now, something I love about this type of virtual exploring is the little bit of research you get to do. Where was the eruption specifically? The news doesn't often give pinpoint locations like GPS coordinates or anything, or which way the wind was blowing, are hiking trails affected, and how close can you get? With the Icelandic eruptions in recent years, you could see so many people able to get extremely close to the lava flows and geysers, or even watch daring drone pilots sacrificing their drones for the bucket shot of flying it into the lava, capturing the video until it does. You can check out the unbelievable videos linked in the show notes. They are not AI. As well as the follow-up video with the actual crash and sacrifice of the drone into the heart of the volcano. So if you're using the geocaching map, especially with the browser add-on, you actually have a better chance of seeing a more recent satellite image with the Esri World imagery tile set. In Iceland, you can now see where the lava flowed through Grindavik in 2023, cutting off major roads and almost wiping the famous Blue Lagoon off the map. And there's a cache there now. It's GCB4YNC. Let's see if I can say this right. Blaualonith. Blue Lagoon. When I went to Iceland to visit and go there for 4 days, I did a lot of studying of Icelandic language and grammar and how to say it, and it's fun to try to pronounce them. Blaualonith. Blue Lagoon. Or 2 years earlier, in 2011, there was an eruption of Fagradalsfjall. And now there are a few geocaches posted at the lava fields there, like GC9ATZA, a 5 terrain in Geldingardalir. Man, I miss Iceland. So, like we describe geocaching as a kind of tour guide, we often get footage and photos from the news. But hey, there are geocaches there too, so let's go see what adventurous geocachers themselves are posting to the listings. You can see photos and maybe even directions, check the log for experiences and tips all about visiting that location that you might not get anywhere else. Sometimes you get to the map and you see a few disabled caches. Well, chances are that is related to, say, a volcanic eruption. But sometimes they stay active, and for better or worse, geocachers may still dare to achieve that smiley. Hopefully legally, following any posted guidance. Well, for Etna, which erupted on June 2nd, 2025, there was indeed a find on that date. Now, this might touch on some geoethical nerves for some people, but in user Dulkid's log, which is a trip summary, there is mention of the visit to Etna, saying, quote, "On the 4th day, we went to Etna. When we arrived at the parking lot, we saw volcanic eruptions and lava. But we got to a height of 2,850 meters above sea level, and we couldn't go any further." Frowny face. "But we saw amazing volcanic eruptions. That's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. We were lucky." Now, for reference, the virtual is at 3,496 meters, so they were about 400 meters still below the posted location, which is pretty far away horizontally. But at least he stayed safe. The next log is from Z-Kids 11 days later saying, "Couldn't come to Sicily without tackling Mount Etna. Incredible hike climb. So glad there's a cache to log up here. Favorite point for the experience. Thanks for creating this one." And along with a photo implying she really did get to the posted coordinates for a wild photo op. Following that log, there are numerous over quite some time with some photos showing the active state of the volcano with safe routes and trails to take for all the tourists. But it seems the eruption was on the southeast face of the peak and tours head in from the northwest. This kind of stuff is what makes my bucket list get longer and longer. A list that will almost certainly never get fully visited. But hey, at least we can live vicariously through fellow geocaching adventurers around the world. Have you found a geocache at a volcano? A physical one, even? I'd love to hear about it. Shoot an email to tgif@cachetheline.net Or phone one in and leave a voice message at cashtheline.net/POI. And you can do that by web as well, including mobile. It may get played on a future episode. Eyjafjallajökull. That's the classic, infamous Icelandic volcano from a number of years ago. Eyjafjallajökull. Guess what? Pi Day is around the corner, and for some fun this year, we have a contest, a challenge, a scavenger hunty swag task for you to win. CLHQ is setting up for its second generation of collectible geocaching swag cards and has made available for ordering a series of magnetic number cache swag cards in random booster packs. The challenge? Collect enough number cards along with maybe some real geocache swag that look like numbers to create the longest sequence of pi that you can. Send in a photo by email of your latest accomplishment, and at the end of March, the longest entrants will win. And what's the prize? Well, we have an assortment of geocoins, trackables, and other swag to give away. The only requirements are that at least half your sequence needs to use the number swag cards, and anything else used needs to be things you might find in a geocache, and that clearly represent a specific number. As a bonus, because why not? Or why? There's a swag card with 2 magnetic numbers, 6, 7, in a micro booster that's also available in the CLHQ shop. If you have any 6, 7 swag cards, they can be used as either 6 or 7. And that's it. Now, due to Chinese New Year, the cards are on pre-order with a slight delivery delay, so this challenge for Pi Day will run through the end of March to the 31st. That means you can order the number booster packs now and start finding geocaches looking for number-like swag, or even go and pick up some dollar store number swag to use that you could put in geocaches after the challenge. You don't have to have real swag in your sequence. It could be all number swag cards, but that adds to a bit of the fun. You can pre-order the number cards, which can be shipped as soon as they arrive from clhq.net/shop, including the 6-7 cards. And if you haven't started your collection of Cache Hunter's geocaching trading cards, now may also be a great time. Email contact@clhq.net if you have any questions and for submitting your entries. Happy hunting! Some time ago, and I mean some time ago, this was maybe 2.5 years ago, October 2023, I posted a little poll in Excellent Geocaching Adventures, the Facebook group, and its question was, what's your favorite irk to irk about in geocaching? And there was a lot of feedback, a lot of people voting and adding their own options, and I found it interesting that the top irk is kind of relevant to one of the news updates that's coming right after this. So to recap maybe the top 5 or so, very common, you hear people talk about it, not unexpected. In 5th place, we have pen woes. People saying they had no pen, or forgetting a pen, or there's no pen in the cache. People get irked about pens in writing with geocaching. In number 4th place, we have no puzzle or coordinate checker. I can kind of understand that. This is a relatively new thing over the last number of years. We have had checkers that people have added to their listings, and it helps people verify their final coordinates. I've heard people argue that they come from the era before checkers, when you solved a puzzle, but you didn't really know, you couldn't really verify that was it. So you had the rush of going to the coordinates and finding or not finding something and then determining from there. And so some of them kind of feel that we're spoiled now with puzzle checkers, coordinate checkers. So that was the number 4 irk that people voted for. Number 3, this is kind of obvious, wet logs. But what can you do? I mean, you could say the owner's got to go and maintain their caches often and make sure that the log is always dry. But, there's the one thing that no matter how much you protect a logbook, you can put it in perfectly protected container that's weatherable and won't get wet. But all it takes is one person to open the container while it's raining and you get wet. So wet logs are kind of inevitable, and I think that's something that we have to deal with, but it can still be an irk. 2nd place, we have various topics regarding hint controversies. So you ever come across a cache and you're searching, you can't find it. You decide, okay, I'm going to take a look at the hint. And then it says, no hint needed. Now, some people hate that, but I actually kind of like that because in a way that is a hint. If you see no hint needed, it probably means you're overthinking it if you need a hint. So that usually tells me to don't look so hard, look in some obvious places that I might think, it couldn't possibly be that. That's too easy. And then, oh, there it is. But there's also things like there's no hint in a listing. I know that's pretty common for new caches where the owner is perhaps waiting for a few people to find it first, just to let those people, the really enthusiastic people, get the full experience of having to find it themselves without a hint. And then they'll add the hint later for other people. And some people say that between having a hint and not having a hint could be a couple of stars difficulty. And so what's the star rating for? Is it the cache with the hint or the cache without the hint? But yeah, people get irked with no caches in listing if they really want to find the cache. Something to consider. Or perhaps the description or hint telling you exactly where it is, and it kind of removes the fun. One example, not so much with hints, but I know that the same effect happens when I'm having difficulty finding a cache and I see that a friend has recently found it, so I'll text them, hey, can you give me a hint for how to find this cache? I'm looking for it for 10 minutes, couldn't find it. Get a little bit of a hint, and they say, oh, it's under the rock right by the bottom of the tree. It's kind of purple or blue. You'll find it easy. I'm like, aha, I didn't want to know exactly where it was. Just a hint. Well, same sort of thing. Some people said that they hate when the description or the hint tells you exactly what to look for. And if they didn't know that that's what it's kind of a spoiler, right? It's like you're reading the description and then it tells you exactly what to find. Well, I don't know. What I kind of think about that is the cache owner has a specific experience that they want you to have. And if they didn't want you to have the adventure of trying to find something you didn't know what to look for, well, that's up to them. But yeah. If you don't want to, then don't read the description or don't read the hint. But that was number 2. But the number 1 most irksome thing in geocaching that people voted for is inaccurate cache coordinates. I don't think that is irrelevant. I think that's perfectly relevant because, after all, we are trying to find things at GPS coordinates. And so sometimes, you've always got the controversy of people with devices that can't get accurate coordinates. But then you've also got the issue that people with hyper accurate devices may still have inaccurate coordinates because either they don't know how to use the device, or they got antsy, or even worse, maybe they're intentionally giving you fuzzy coordinates. I think in the early days, fuzzy coordinates, like intentionally vague, so intentionally within maybe 5 to 10 meters or 20 meters or more even of the actual location, that was relatively common, I think, for higher difficulty caches. But now it's kind of like people expect that the coordinates that you read are as close and as accurate as the cache owner can get them. So unless you think that the cache owner is intentionally being vague or lying, which the reviewers do not like, then we expect that the coordinates are accurate. So hopefully, if you are a cache owner, please do your best to get accurate coordinates. And whether that means sitting in one spot and using an averaging option on your device or phone, or whether it means walking around and trying to get motion so you can visually average it, whatever it takes, just don't turn on your device and take a reading right away. That will almost always never be accurate. So accurate coordinates are important. Please consider that. And that brings us to one of the latest news updates to the geocaching app on mobile devices. Coordinate accuracy has kind of been a sore spot with a lot of veteran pre-smartphone geocachers, and really a big gotcha argument they've used against smartphones in geocaching in general. So after experts have been using smartphones, many have been importing that same mentality in geocaching of taking multiple, often many GPS readings and averaging them to attain as precise a location as possible. Of course, that is a great practice. It's good to note as well, though, that geocache coordinates have always been listed with a 3 decimal precision in the degree decimal minutes format. And that offers a numerically limited accuracy for people searching for geocaches. So it doesn't matter how accurate and how precise your GPS device may actually be. You're limited by the coordinates on the website. Unless, of course, a cache owner were to include a much higher precision coordinate in the cache listing's description. Anyway, that's not so much the issue as coordinates most often posted by newbies to the hobby who want the luster of owning a geocache themselves before really understanding the mechanics of GPS. And so they turn on the phone, they open the app, they get an initial reading from the GPS, and they use that. Sometimes it can be as bad as over 50 meters away before the GPS settles on satellite signals and gets greater accuracy. And nobody likes that. So there's also days of, difficult reception, mainly from bad or heavy weather or under deep forest cover. It's a challenge that dedicated GPS devices often do a better job at. In any case, HQ has decided it's time to incorporate their own version of a coordinate collector and averager directly into the app. And here's the announcement. With this release, players can collect and name coordinates in the Geocaching app on iOS and Android. The feature is available now on iOS and will roll out on Android version 10.3. Saved coordinates sync automatically to the cache owner dashboard on geocaching.com. In the app, just open the Hides tab to access the coordinate collector and get started. You can collect and name coordinates, save locations in the app, and give each one a custom name like By the Big Pine Tree. Gauge GPS accuracy. The app does the work for you. When you tap Collect Coordinates, it filters out poor readings and averages multiple signals to give you a more reliable result. The app will give each set of coordinates an accuracy label based on EPE, which is the estimated position error. Under 5 meters is high accuracy, up to 10 meters is moderate, and over 10 meters is low accuracy. Access your saved coordinates on geocaching.com. To use them, go to your cache owner dashboard, click coordinates, then copy and paste them into your Hides coordinates field. Note that saving coordinates does not reserve or guarantee a location of your cache. So now, to my knowledge, at least with Apple and iOS devices, the phone hardware is already reading GPS coordinates at the OS level if an app has said that it wants to use GPS. So the OS is already taking and averaging readings behind the scenes so that an app can simply request what the OS already has calculated as trusted coordinates. An app can request increased or faster polling at the expense of battery life for more and better averages of coordinates if it gets from the operating system. This helps get rid of that weird outlier coordinate that doesn't seem to be anywhere near the rest, but nonetheless, those coordinates that the app gets can still bounce around depending on accuracy and reception. But the geocaching app collects and averages, it says, for up to 25 seconds, or until it thinks the result is reasonably accurate. Ultimately, though, at the front end to the user, it's basically just averaging averages. In my opinion, really the functionality is for peace of mind, but it does reduce the chance of bad published coordinates due to just inexperience. A lot of people also make use of other third-party apps for GPS reading or geocaching already, so I think the feature is best for people who use the geocaching app as their primary app or would rather not have to jump to a different app to get GPS readings while on the phone. In any case, it's a good addition to the app, and hopefully it'll reduce the proliferation of inaccurate coordinates from geocaching phone app users, iOS or Android. And being able to store custom coordinates and share to the website is also a huge plus. As noted, they're just stored for reference. They have no proximity comparisons, no sending for review. They're just individual waypoints for remembering. Like you could use it for remembering where you parked your car. They said you could store up to 200 coordinates before they need to be cleared up. So who's going to hit that limit first and complain that it's too low? Will you be using the new coordinate collector? Or do you have an alternate way of getting good coordinates when you're placing a geocache? Better yet, will you be using the coordinate collector in, drumroll please, dark mode? Another long-awaited change to the geocaching app is the newly rolled out dark mode feature, a popular app feature these days, even websites on the PC. I've got my phone on dark mode, and I love when the Google Maps app switches from light to dark at night, usually around 8 o'clock or so. It's so much easier on the eyes. Well, here is this announcement. With today's release, players can now use dark mode in the geocaching app. This update is available in iOS version 10.4 and Android version 10.5, and this feature is designed to improve overall usability. Dark mode provides a more eye-friendly interface, enhances readability in low-light environments, and can help conserve battery life on devices with OLED screens. Switch to dark mode in the appearance section of the settings menu, and if your device is already set to dark mode, the app will match your device settings automatically. Previously, this feature was available to premium members via the experimental features menu. If you haven't checked out the experimental features list and you're a premium member, go to the profile tab in the app, tap the settings gear in the corner, and look for the experimental features menu option. You'll see a list of test functions you can toggle on or off, and even right now there are some that won't be covered in this episode. Who knows what there might be later on. Okay, back to dark mode. I like it. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay, there are still a few missed blocks of text here and there, and pages that may be loaded from a URL may not yet reflect dark mode, but they're getting found and reported and fixed, so par for the course. Good job, HQ. All right, before we get to the main subject, I need to take a minute to recognize some very important people. With fewer videos and pods produced lately for Cache the Line because change has happened in this geocacher's life, and change I wouldn't trade back for the world, their influence has truly been flying under the radar. This podcast and all things Cache the Line, with all its expenses, time, and effort put into creating a variety of geocaching content, products, and building a fantastic community, is supported by a band of excellent adventures, care of Patreon, where you can pledge even just a few bucks a month to help support all that work, the costs and content being put out on social media week by week, all helping to promote this amazing hobby of geocaching. Because Cache the Line is videos, podcasts, news, community, swag, and more, now including Cache Line HQ and the Cache Hunters TCG, I am so ever thankful to all the patrons who have supported over the years. So, for the first time, I want to give a shout out to all the patrons who pitch in as of this episode, but with massive thanks as well to all those who've previously supported. So let's see how fast I can get through these names. We have Glowworm77, Yellow Warbler, Bember, Free Spirited One, Brain 21, Comedy Addict, Casher's Corner Store, Cantai, Hesker Medic, The Happy Hodag, Finley's Drudge, Geodandrew, Deadliest Cachers, Gas Station Tuna, Emily Renee, FSE Barrow, Heart Valley Girl, In Daryl, JMJWI, Trexer, Kitty Quest, Geocacher Ken, Cody Cash, Little Black Dog, Seabeck Tribe, Cash Addict Mel, Tiva28, Babushka QC, Double Helix, Nunavut Tatey, Rodeo 68, Raj King, Runner Cacher, 13 Coach 13, Sims Quest, Redheaded Fury Lopez Cachers, The Geocaching Vlogger, The Pizza Ninja, Tyrone Shoelaces, TTO2, Caching Dutchman, Happy Feet, TTFN Caching, and 5GK. Being a patron comes with bonus perks too, from path tags and flash tags and other collectibles to exclusive content. So if you consider joining, we'd be greatly appreciative of the support. Go to patreon.com/cachetheline for all the details. And thank you so much for listening and for your contributions and support. All right, the next change we're going to cover is one that's a little more under the hood, but it can have some effect on how challenge caches kind of work. Now, sometimes we here in the West, like the US and Canada, wonder why HQ makes some of the decisions they do, but we need to remember that they are a US company operating globally and selling services in as many countries and regions as they can handle, legally. You can imagine how many laws they need to follow to make that happen and still be able to provide the best website and experience to as many people seamlessly as possible. Infamously, the GDPR laws of the EU threw everyone for a loop. That one, at least to my knowledge, was one of the farthest reaching policies enacted by a region that affected the world. It wasn't just about what was available within the region, but demanded that a company operating in that region respect the law about protecting their citizens' data as it's presented to the world. And that privacy law was what led to the ability to restrict your account's details from visibility if you wanted to remain private, and led to the right to limit your data to first-party use, that is, the geocaching website only, and only their services. That led to the effect of anonymous and hidden usernames and information in third-party apps and websites which had no ability to identify or track such a user. You can imagine the chaos of enacting technical hurdles like that programmatically in order just to stay legally compliant and able to sell your services in that region. Well, the trick now is that one of the features of this hobby, as we all know, are challenge caches. It used to be that a user would be required to send proof of qualification for a challenge to the cache owner, who could then allow them to post their find as a log on the cache. Then came along the convenience of automatic checkers. I had even written some of my own scripts to analyze my pocket query statistics and spit out a record of any qualifications needed for certain challenges, but soon websites had popped up to automate that process very, very conveniently. And then came the dawn of information privacy to third parties. And who was hit hardest? Project GC. We had a conundrum. Project GC, being the premier stats checker and officially partnering with Geocaching HQ, was still a third party. So what can be done about users who don't want to share their data with third-party tools but still want to do challenge caching, where it's now required to prove you qualify by using a third-party tool, the Project GC checker? Well, many heads were hard at work trying to figure out a solution, both at Project GC with their developers and script writers and at Geocaching HQ, and that brings us to today. A new update specifically and exclusive to address the difficulty with Project GC. And here's their announcement. With today's release, we clarify what data is shared with Project GC and give users more choice about how their data is shared. On the user privacy page, we've added a checkbox, only visible to users who've chosen private or friends for geocaches found, trackable, souvenirs, gallery, or statistics, and that allows users to share with Project GC. This allows users who do not wish for certain information to be publicly available on geocaching.com to still have their data shared for challenge checkers and other stats on Project GC. In the statistics section of the user privacy page, we now note that Project GC receives all game statistics, regardless of sharing settings, and due to the importance of stats in the game. However, if you opt out of sharing with authorized developers, that's the third-party tools, your statistics will be associated with the username, quote, profile name unknown on Project GC. For users who chose privacy settings via old settings on the statistics page, please be aware that those settings only affect how data is displayed on geocaching.com. To use the new privacy controls, update your settings on the user privacy page for more sharing with geocaching.com and authorized developer applications. And we have updated the Help Center to clarify that even if you opt out of sharing, the following data is still available to authorized developer applications. Your past logs, including any photos. You need to delete your logs if you do not wish to share them. Your geocache and trackable pages, those are public. Delete personal information if you do not wish to share. To maintain the history of the game, these are not deleted. Your game statistics, only on projectgc.com, associated with the username, profile name unknown. So, some of this might seem like common sense, if you understand it. But I think it's an example of one of those things they have to deal with by figuring out if they can even deal with it on a global level. I mean, I think the option of having a specific opt-in for Project GC was suggested long ago, but as with any feature like that, HQ probably had to do a whole lot of research about whether that might void their compliance to some region laws. In any case, the option is now there to keep your personal information private, but allow details to be shared explicitly with Project GC, with the understanding that that aspect of the game is public by nature. So even if you keep your data private, it still exists there, just not associated to you. I think it's a step in the right direction. Logs are public. Even photos are public. My understanding is that if Project GC receives the log but still makes it anonymous for you, then the log and its content are still there for statistical purposes. So they've also just clarified that point in the Help Center. Now, I just want to give a huge shout out to Hugh, one of the script writers there. He's a local here, part-time student at least, so I've met him at a number of events. He's an awesome dude and refreshingly excited about challenge checkers and scripting. He's also been active in the forums, answering some questions, and even providing some quick statistical summaries and reports when people have asked curious questions. A solid fist bump and props for his contribution to the challenge caching community. Before moving on to the biggest news of the century, it seems like that at least, let's take a quick break with a fun geocaching story. So I came across this story posted in April of 2024, and it's been itching to get into an episode since. Peppa took a trip for a tropical FTF, and it, shall we say, hit an irk nerve. Here's a short story about GCAGDQ3, which they found April 11th. I would like to share with you the experience of a lifetime. FDF on the least accessible cache, a D2.5 and terrain 5, on the island of Tahiti Treat. The owner of the Tahiti bungalow took us by motorboat out to sea to the inaccessible settlement of Hotapu. From here we continued through dense jungle along the sea to a lava gorge, then climbed through a waist-deep lava cave and reached an enclosed lagoon with a beautiful waterfall. I've already been to 122 countries, but this surprised me a lot. In the lava cave, we were first to find the GCAGDQ3 cache since publication. We found that our pen fell somewhere in the sea, so a stick and a bit of mud helped to log. Now, before anyone complains that maybe they didn't sign the log, while the photos shared with this story don't include clear proof, the online log does include a photo of the log with arguably legible signatures etched with a muddy stick. Now, for reference, Tahiti Treat is deep in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, like smack dab in the center, and this is already a massive epic adventure. The cache is called Fenua Ahir. Fenua Ahir? Le Lavatube. French is the local language. The description is in French, but in English it reads, "The southern coast of the peninsula, Tahiti Treat, remains wild. Called Fenua Ahir, it is only accessible to landowners who have built small dwellings there for weekend getaways or short holidays. A boat is the only way to reach it. Abundant nature, untouched by human intervention, a wild scent, crystal clear streams, breathtaking waterfalls, and protected fishing areas teeming with colorful fish. This is the place I want to share with you." In addition, an exceptional lava tube with its waterfall behind it offering cool, clear water will complete the short hike required to reach this magnificent setting. I'm deliberately not including a photo to let you discover this place for yourself. It's accessible via excursions with the Fenua Ahir tour operators in Tehupo. Enjoy your walk and swim. Now that seems right out of some tourist guidebook. The cache has been found once since then in January 2025, and I gotta tell you, there is so much out there in the world still to see when it comes to geocaching. I love seeing other people's logs, especially at vacation-style cache locations like this, and being able to live vicariously through those shared experiences. And the shared moments. That irk about having no writing utensil is a universal irk. How would you feel going that far to attempt to be a first to find only to realize that you forgot or lost your pen? I think you'd absolutely try to find some way to write your name on that log sheet and lock in your accomplishment, even if it meant pricking your finger and writing in blood. I know some people who've tried that. Kevin responded in the post saying that he would have taken 20 pens on that trip. How many would you have taken to dodge that irksome hazard? Thank you, Peppa, for that awesome story and inspirational geocaching adventure. All right, here is the biggie. This is a change that has been many years in the making, and depending on how attentive you are, it may be something completely new, or you're completely oblivious, or you could be ecstatic, or you could be furious, or you could just be meh. So a whopping 9 years ago, HQ took a step forward on the website and created a new user dashboard on geocaching.com. In good faith, they updated everyone to the new dashboard, thinking it was an ideal and amazing new updated modern feature for the worldwide community. Well, suffice to say, change doesn't come easy. There was sufficient fury from the community that they rolled back the update and provided it as an optional feature you could opt in to use. Since that day, HQ has been making updates and changes, dealing with bugs and aesthetic requests, and for a whole 9 years, our dashboard has been a dualistic entity. And now, there's the rub. Early this month in February, HQ posted this announcement. On February 24, we will remove the old dashboard from the website. In May 2017, we introduced the new player dashboard, and since then we've made numerous improvements based on your feedback. The new dashboard page includes content not available on the old dashboard, like Events Nearby widget, the Recently Viewed Caches widget. There's a Quick Links widget with treasures, experimental features for premium members, the search map, geocaching 101 tips, other featured campaigns when available, styling updates for responsive design, accessibility improvements, etc. These changes will also remove a few obsolete pages. The majority of all geocaching accounts are opted into the new dashboard, and since April 2019, all new players are entirely on the new dashboard page. To ease the transition from the old look to the new look, we gave existing players the option to stay on the old dashboard page, and we will remove the option to return to the old dashboard page on February 24th, 2026. Not surprisingly, the forums erupted in feedback, most of it being negative and critical. Some of the feedback I received to a post on Facebook include obvious sentiments, like many hated the new one, so switched back to the old one. Many continue to ask why, or actually believe that HQ is intentionally trying to hurt the community. Opinions are opinions, but many also believe HQ doesn't know what they're doing, or aren't using their development resources right, or that the old dashboard is objectively better. There's certainly reasonable responses as well, though, such as, I tried the new one, I didn't like it, but decided to stick with it and eventually forgot about the old one. Or I tried it, loved it, and never went back. Or tried it and offered some suggestions for improvements. So clearly thoughts are across the board, and we all know that online it's the negative and critical that has the loudest voice, making it seem like it could be the majority. But one thing we do know is that HQ has access to data and statistics that we do not, and it's still shocking to me when, they quote any year's geocaching statistics and show that, and I'm just pulling this number out of my head, something like 90% of users only find 10 geocaches a year, or 9 out of 10 users use the mobile app exclusively. Again, that's just an illustrative example. The point being, we often live in a bubble of the way we use things and associate with people who think the same way. So we really have no idea what the full picture looks like, and in this case, it's behind closed doors until someone gives us a peek. And along came Mountain Bike, beloved lackey at HQ who does a whole lot of data analysis, who, as he is famous for doing, posted some raw, relevant statistics about the usage rate of the new dashboard, because many people believe that the vast majority still use and prefer the old dashboard. So to show that while it's not universally loved, it's not nearly hated to the degree that the vocal users believe. So here's what he said. For these numbers, I'm only looking at accounts that have logged a find in the past 365 days. Among all such users, the rate of usage of the new dashboard is 95.85%. But wait, that's only because new users are defaulted to the new dashboard and don't know any better, right? Well, partially, but even if we look at people who have explicitly tried both and settled on the new dashboard, the rate is 77.37%. These rates of new dashboard usage generally hold no matter how you break down the cohort. So we've got the rate among accounts created over 10 years ago, 86%. The rate among accounts with over 10,000 total finds, 68%. The rate among accounts with over 1,000 finds in the past 365 days, 78%. The rate among accounts with 52 or more outings in the past year, i.e. averaged at least one cache outing per week, 80%. And the rate among premium members, 90%. Rate among accounts based in Europe, 95%. And accounts based in North America, 97%. The rate among premium 10-plus year accounts with 10,000 plus fines, 1,000 fines in the past year, 52 outings in the past year, and based in Germany, 69%. So remember, that's people who have tried both and settled on the new. New users were automatically set to use the new dashboard, so it didn't really have any relevance to the matter of being forced to move from the old to the new. There's also the unknown of how many users actively use a dashboard on a mobile browser versus a desktop PC. Some of the other thoughts shared on Facebook, and note that this was posted before the 24th when the old dashboard and option to switch was removed, include from Yosemite Debbie. We both use the old one almost exclusively. I only hop over to the new one to check the event calendar and treasures data. I'm unhappy with the forced change, but we'll deal with it. Yes, I knew it was coming. Nothing I can do about it. It's going down regardless, just like the decision to remove benchmarks, which we and others loved to find and record along with our geocaching adventures. Jason Chapek said, I like the old page, but I'm forcing myself to use the new one so I have time to figure it out. All the links are there. It's just a matter of finding where they moved and remembering. Craig Atchison said, I have the old one. Don't know what's going to happen to my world that day. LOL. So, Craig, you still around? Patty Cat said, I'm not just sad, I'm angry. I guess even though we pay for it, we still do get a say. I'd stick with the old one. I didn't like the new one. But most humans don't like change, to be fair, but still. Not nice, not fair. Guinea Osborne Tracy said, I haven't ever looked at the new dashboard. I was hoping that if I ignored it, it would go away. Rob Mail said, new one is much better. Love the timeline. Paul Nunaviteri said, I only use the new one and managed to do and find everything I need on it. I did use the old version for many years and was initially cross with the new when it came out. It was only after a couple of years of using the new that I saw the option to go back banner at the top. Hans Persson said, I started using the new dashboard when it was announced a number of years back, thought it was okay and assumed the old one would be discontinued soon and stayed on the new one. Soon turned out to be way longer off than I expected, but I still won't be missing the old one. Dale Swinehart said, been using the old one since it came out. Like anything, things change. You either change with it or get left behind complaining. I had to go click old dashboard to figure out which one I was actually using. Jeff Harvey said, have not used the old one in decades. Chris Hooker, dislike the old one. It's not economical to support both, so I can see why it needs to be decommissioned. I don't like change, so didn't like the new dashboard initially, but after using it for a short while, I never looked back, and if I ever did, found the old one ugly and cluttered. The new one is so much better. I use it mostly on the computer, and it works really well. Martin Pattison said, when the new one came out, I was one of the ones who complained about many of its attributes. Groundspeak fixed some of those things, but some have still not been fixed. A few years in, I decided to give the new one a proper chance and switched to it with the intention of giving it a month or so to see how I got on. Somehow, I just never went back. I don't think that was a conscious decision, I just didn't feel the need and forgot about the old one. Since it was announced that the old one was being withdrawn, I've gone back to try it and find it clunky and less intuitive. So count me in the new camp. Mark Sandfort said, I jumped right into the new dashboard. Everyone updates pages and accounts, etc. Years back, I fought it and held out to the last minute. And now, when I know what's going to happen, I treat it like a Band-Aid on a hairy arm. Jump in, rip that sucker off, and move to the newest thing. Cursing under my breath for several minutes, but moving on. Jim Huggins said, I changed over. I have too many other problems to care about this one. Ain't that the truth? And then we have Bill Smith. What is the difference? And finally, we have Gary Jones, who said, ha ha, flip phone, and don't update my phone crowd. Can you actually go geocaching on a flip phone? Well, now that we are all directed to the new and modern dashboard, what are your thoughts? Where do you stand on this change? Oh, here's a pro tip that I and many others have used for years. On a desktop PC, add all the links to pages you use regularly to your browser favorites or bookmarks in their own folder or dropdown. That way, you've got a custom dedicated quick hub to any page you like from wherever you are browsing on the internet. And if you use, say, both home and work PCs, you could potentially use browser syncing to ensure any changes to those bookmarks appear in both places. The only hurdle with this method then is if you use whatever content of the old dashboard for convenience, like lists, summaries, and such. Those typically are available on their own pages, but it's certainly convenient to have the most recent summaries displayed on one page. HQ has responded in the announcement thread, sharing that they're listening and are making improvements to the new dashboard, taking into consideration a lot of the positive and helpful constructive feedback that's been sent, and explaining more about that ominous why from a technical standpoint. So thanks to Ocean Azul for the update. The link to that post is in the show notes. In short, why is the old being retired? Because it's been a resource hog for years, and things just need to move forward. Personally, I'd love to see a template that lets people choose a classic view of the content, which under the hood has been updated, which seriously, no one outside HQ should really care about the back end. For us, it's all about the end user experience. Some may prefer the modern mobile-friendly design, and others may prefer the desktop-friendly layout with classic design styles. But I don't know how even including that would relate to the issue of modern design standards with which it seems HQ is trying to keep compliant. Anyway, that dashboard, man, who knew it would be so close to the heart of so many geocachers? Alas, it is time to make change. Make change? Make a change. Change to a change. Make a change to change to Oh, okay. Well, I'm being nudged by one Sir Tiny Tim. If you recall, we had some surreal geocaching adventures a few years back, and boy, what adventures. Now, Sir Tiny Tim is reminding me to give a little update about the state of the treasure troops back at Cacheline HQ and how exploration of the Cacheline Dimension frontier is progressing. Over the past year, Cacheline HQ has been working hard to develop their catalog of discoveries, care of Arch Team, the archaeologist team of Iowa Jones and Louisiana Rose, who've been traveling far and wide, documenting everything they can about traveling, the CLD, the cloud, and the nature of the energy native to the cloud that we detect from geocaching activities, primarily tied to successfully finding geocaches. You can take a look at much of what has already been discovered and reported at clhq.net/news, from swag, some mysteries, and some unexpected discoveries like stepping foot in the supposedly fictional Sherwood Forest, or growing diplomatic relations with sapient alligators who learned of the Bamarama mega event recently and ran their own version of the Olympic Games. Yep, it's crazy. While CLHQ is producing their finds in the form of collectible geocaching trading cards, an expansive collection of geocache swag items, trackable travelers, personalized signature cards, themed card sets for a number of events, and much more. All of these are cards that can be collected, traded, given away, placed in geocaches as swag, but all are items that build your own catalog of playable cards to use within the first trading card game being produced called Cache Hunters. You can find all about that at cachehunters.info and visiting the shop at clhq.net/shop. The base game will be launching as a crowdfunder very soon, and I know I keep saying that, but it's as much as I can say. With the change in this life, day to day can be fairly unpredictable. Development of clhq.net continues, orders continue to be placed and shipped, partnerships and sponsorships continue to be made, and the summer of events is almost here. It is going to be an exciting year. Right. Also, over Valentine's Day this year, the tiny team of Iowa and Lou got engaged. They've shared a few photos together that you can check out in the show notes. So folks, that is all for this show. Do me a favor and hit the like button or give the show a thumbs up or a positive review if you enjoyed it so you can spread it to more people. And if you have any adventures you'd like to share on the show, I'd love to hear from you. Any comments, funny stories, milestones, accomplishments, adventures, or rants, please email tgif@cachetheline.net or phone one in by calling to leave a message at www.cachetheline.net/POI. Links and references mentioned in the episode can be found in the show notes linked in the description. If you'd like to join the band of excellent adventurers who help support Cache the Line and this podcast, please find us on Patreon or by visiting cachetheline.net/Patreon. Support for as little as a cup of coffee per month or with a discount by the year and get bonus swag and access to exclusive content. So thanks for listening and see you next time with more exploration into the wide world of excellent geocaching adventures. And as always, happy caching and excellent adventuring. Bye.